Class of 2026, my people, my family. This is the beginning of commencement weekend. Andy Bernard from The Office once said, "I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days before you actually left them." This quote feels especially true in these final moments before you become alumni. Tonight gives us a chance to slow down for a minute, to appreciate being here together one last time before friends and relatives arrive to celebrate the weekend. 26 years ago, I sat in those pews on my own Convocation night. Andover has always felt like home to me. One of the many reasons I have always loved this place is because of the amazing adults who supported me as a student and now as a faculty member. To the adults in the room, thank you for all the ways you've helped guide and support this class. And to the students in the room, thank you for making our jobs so meaningful because of the energy and joy you bring to this place. Some of you have already sent me Instagram follow requests. Technically, adults are not allowed to follow current students until they graduate. So Sunday at 1 p.m., once you officially become alumni, I will reject all of those requests. I love you all, but my ratio is really important to me. And now, I'll hand it off to my brother, co-class advisor, one of the people in this community who inspires me the most, and someone who literally heals people, Coach O'Reilly.
Thank you, T.I. It is great to be here as we begin this exciting weekend. As I thought about this moment, I kept coming back to one word, family. Family not just as a word, but as an acronym. F-A-M-I-L-Y. Forever and more, I love you. And honestly, that's exactly what this class has become and what I see when I look out this evening. Whether you arrived this year as a PG or a one-year senior or a nupper, or came as a new lower, or you've been rocking with Andover since ninth grade year, the connections you've built, the challenges overcome, the laughter, victories, and the long days, all of it has shaped you. It has shaped us. But the best part, you did it together. However, the time is coming when we won't be physically together anymore, on the Great Lawn, in Commons, or sprinting back before sign-in. But the togetherness that you built will remain, not because of place, but because of spirit. And the spirit of the class of 2026 is love. Not just love as something you feel, but by the way you live. Showing up for one another, not because everything will go the way you want or it certifies a win, but because that is who you all are. It is your essence to love. That is what we get to celebrate with you all tonight and over the next few days. Your connection, your growth, and your spirit. T.I. and I are honored to have advised you, watch you grow, overcome, and care for one another. So tonight, and for the rest of your time on campus, when you see a peer or trusted adult, let them know. Appreciate you, family. Because forever and more, we love you, and you will always be family. Cheers.
Remember the bell tower. My mom called out to me as I was ushered by Blue Keys to some orientation activity. My mom, ever the optimist, had devised this anecdote as we drove up to Andover in 1,099 miles away from the only home I've ever known. I was uneasy, petrified, really. Imagine Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz saying, "Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," except replace Toto with my inner monologue and Kansas with Kentucky. Hypothetically, I should have been concerned with how I'd ever manage the academic rigor or how I'd connect with my first ever roommate. And granted, I was concerned. But in that car ride, if you asked what worry was echoing throughout my head, it was getting lost. And when I confided in my mom, what if I can't even find my way back to my dorm? She assured me, just find the bell tower and that will guide you back to the quads. Given that my mom, like most moms, is seldom wrong, I took her advice to heart, seeking out the bell tower each day before pushing the crosswalk button and waving at the driver became second nature. The bell tower became my lighthouse, representing safety and guiding me back to what I came to know as and lovingly call my second home. With my best effort, I tried to call home every day, and though I never explicitly stated it, my mom knew. In my fear of getting lost, I had found a campus that housed all the ideas and people I had been searching for until now. Going off on tangents, whether about Frankenstein and Mrs. Kirchie's English 100 class, or late-night yoga contortions with my roommates in Johnson, my mom could tell that I was becoming more myself. But at some point, my calls home became less and less frequent, with me having fewer joys to recount. It was senior fall, and I felt as if my center had shifted. Our campus, which once felt like hope captured in a few acres, appeared dull and colorless. I still walked past the bell tower to my dorm each day, though its symbolism had mutated. Once my lighthouse and beacon of safety, I now looked to the bell tower adrift. Thank God I made it through the day, and how am I possibly going to make it through tomorrow? The confidence I had built in my academic abilities felt fragile as my identity was displayed in a mere 250 words or less, ready to be gnawed to its core. My friendships, so steadfast and loyal, felt increasingly more difficult to maintain and show up for. It wasn't that I was necessarily being swallowed whole by crashing waves, but rather, I was desperately treading water, maintaining a composure above while completely and utterly exhausted below. I was in a vicious cycle, knowing how I can and likely should escape the mental distress, but being unable to actualize it. I knew, for example, if I read something, anything other than my Outlook messages or my incomplete Common App, I would feel better. But I was too absorbed in performing composure while deteriorating internally to pick up a book unless incentivized. Well, English class is quite the incentive, and I was fortunate enough to be in Miss Fulton's Virginia Woolf elective, where we were asked to read To the Lighthouse. Anyone familiar with Woolf's prose understands it is truly not skimmable. Written as a stream of consciousness and far more concerned with the character's interiority, I had to read Woolf meticulously to even garner 50% comprehension. Though time-consuming, I was grateful to be outside of my brain and into someone else's. And wow, does Virginia Woolf have a mind worth inhabiting? There's this one line that focuses on the character Lily Briscoe and closes To the Lighthouse. Yes, she thought, laying down her brush in extreme fatigue, I have had my vision. I wish it was that easy. I so desperately wanted my vision, an answer, explanation, or epiphany for why I felt more lost than ever. To no surprise to any of the adults in the room, though, I could not simply beckon my way to a vision. I had to come to the lighthouse on my own time. And standing here, after quite the journey, I think I have an idea. When I think of guidance, I think of my Philosophy 600 teacher, Dr. B, excitedly handing me new journal articles to read on my topic. When I think of safety, I think of my best friend sitting on the floor outside of my Bio 500 class so that she could walk me to dance. And when I think of hope, I think of watching my peers delivering their senior remarks, making me feel part of a whole, of something larger than myself. My lighthouse was no longer the bell tower or any one landmark. It was this community. During senior fall, when I was expected to be at my very best, my light dimmed, even as I was fighting against the tide of my own self-doubt. But there is something uniquely special about this community, my lighthouse. I was not, and never will be, alone, lost in absolute darkness. It is impossible to be in this community. There will always be a friend that offers to get me extra sweet potato fries. There will always be Mr. Wyeth, who inconveniences himself just to help me understand washers and disc. There will always be Dean Esty asking, "How are you?" and genuinely hoping to hear a random spiel about harp lessons and trash duty rather than the standard "good" or "fine." At Andover, I am enveloped in light. And I have a responsibility too. As part of the community, I have the privilege of exuding light for those same teachers, house counselors, and dear friends who have directed me back to my harbor, back to a me that feels more true to my authentic self. I get to talk with Mrs. Rex late after Thursday night sign-in about her new, precious granddaughter. I get to go on a walkie-talkie with a friend and listen to them talk through their upcoming mock AP anxieties. I get to be a single ray of a place, a time, a moment, a community that in every iteration shines a light on its members. Next September, I won't be driving up on the bell tower as habit tells me to do. I won't be overwhelmed with light as I cheer in my orange tie-dye shirt at incoming ninth graders. But I'll always have glimmers. Seeing an Andover shirt in the airport and immediately walking over to say hi. Calling a dear friend and falling back into a rhythm as if we were walking downtown to Perk together. And if I get lost again, no, when I get lost again, remembering that to get back to my lighthouse, I don't have to look very hard at all. I just have to look home. Thank you.
When I was deciding on a moment to anchor this speech, I landed on a moment a few weeks ago in Mr. Parker's economics colloquium. See, Mr. Parker and Dr. Blakeney had brought together their fourth period classes to welcome an alum and guest speaker, a finance executive. He was the kind of person who moves through 100 slides a minute, driving the lesson forward by firing questions out to anyone, including those of us who weren't exactly prepared to answer. The guest speaker cold called on me to answer the following question: what is credit? In the form of an I believe statement. I sat there with an 1,000-yard stare, and in front of my econ class, in front of Dr. Blakeney's class, and in front of Mr. Parker, I sheepishly admitted that I had no idea how to answer the speaker's question in an I believe statement. The answer, by the way, was I believe that you will pay me back. Safe to say, I am not a fan of being cold called on. I can still picture the moment. It was like a record scratch. Suddenly, all of my classmates' eyes were on me. To be frank, I'd already been feeling slightly insecure about my academic abilities in that class and being able to keep up with everyone who's seemingly been reading The Economist for years. So when the question came to me, all of those feelings surfaced at once. There's a horrifying, humbling chill to being singled out, to being called upon before you have the right words. Not unlike, say, Dr. Kington telling me I had a couple days to write this entire speech. And yet, look around. We're in a room full of people who've been cold called on. Graduating seniors, maybe this applies to several of you who showed up to your first period upper spring classes with very droopy eyes. And faculty, maybe you were the ones cold calling on them. I will admit, I have also done my fair share of cold calling in class as well. I once took over Dr. Villanueva's History 300 class for a day to teach about Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society, and I cold called on many of my classmates. A gross abuse of power, I am aware. But I have learned at Andover that cold calling occurs outside of the classroom as well. And those are the calls that have stayed with me the longest. When we tragically lost a classmate upper spring, I found myself navigating an aspect of my role as the editor-in-chief of the Philippian that I didn't feel ready for. I flipped to a section of the paper's policies, found an old phone number in the footnotes, and I cold called a former editor-in-chief, someone who'd been on the paper during the last time our community went through something like that. I'm not even sure I texted before I called, and yet he picked up, probably before he had the right words. Rudd Fawcett, class of 2017, graduated years before I even discovered Andover and was many years removed by the time I matriculated. He was someone whose usual spot in lower right I couldn't have pointed to, someone whose spikeball game I'd never joined simply because his friends had the only net on the lawn, someone whose signatures are probably still on the walls of the Philippian newsroom I've spent late nights in for years, but buried under layers of newspapers from every board since he graduated. And yet, he helped me through one of my hardest moments of my 4 years at Andover. A statistically improbable connection, and yet invaluable to me. That call, that very frigid, urgent cold call, taught me something heartwarming about this place, that Andover's community envelops everyone who's ever entered the chapel for matriculation and walked out the same doors in a reverse fashion at the end of community convocation. This community is not confined to just the 4 years we're here, but it stretches backwards and forwards in time. That thought, I think, is what comforts me, even as I prepare for the fact that this exact configuration of people is about to end. After this weekend, all of us sitting here right now will never be in one room together again. I have spent much of my senior year haunted by this fact. And yet I have also learned that Andover will call us inevitably back together, never again as this exact room, but in smaller interactions and iterations scattered across the years to come. It will call us together in moments of celebration, like tonight, like this weekend, with our loved ones coming in from all around the world. And Andover will also cold call us together in moments of struggle or uncertainty for the rest of our lives. Before I close, I want to name a few of the people who picked up for me when I needed it the most. To my lower year physics teacher, Mr. Michael Kennedy, who I cold called in a state of crisis about an upcoming test, and who let me trek to his house at 8 p.m. on a school night to try and make sense of momentum in his living room. To my best friends, who I cold called desperately for advice, and who stayed up with me on the phone or in the dorm, hours after their own homework was done. And to everyone in this community I haven't yet named, the teachers who stopped to have a conversation with me on the paths when I was holding it together by a thread, who reminded me that the day was bigger than whatever heavy news story I was carrying that week, to the strangers who smiled at me on mornings I was unsure I had a place here, and who made me want to do the same for someone else. You all followed through on cold calls I didn't even realize I was making. You've all shown me that most of the time we are called upon in the middle of something else or before we have the right words. And still, you offer yourselves anyway and stay on the line. To all of you, when the details and specifics of these past 4 years have gone foggy, when you sincerely least expect a response, cold call me, eagerly and urgently and wonderfully inconveniently for whatever reason. I believe, and yes, this is in the form of an I believe statement, that the people in this room will keep calling, and I can assure you that I will pick up, with each cold call landing as the warmest invitation. Thank you.
Greetings, colleagues, students, and friends. I'm grateful to be here with you this evening for Convocation, an opportunity to gather and to pause. As T.I. and Coach O'Rye just reminded us, this is a good time to take a deep breath. Soon, if not already, your families will become part of these, your last days as an Andover student. I'm sure you're feeling a lot of emotions, and I encourage you to notice those emotions, maybe write some of them down, and give yourself permission to be present over the course of the next 4 days. This is a big moment, and you've come a long way. Class of 2026, I have a special affinity for you. I arrived here with my family 4 years ago to become the cluster dean of West Quad North, just as the first of you were arriving as juniors. As more of you came, new lowers, then new uppers, and finally new seniors and PGs this year to complete the class, I have stood at this lectern each September and welcomed you all to Andover. You were the first class I've seen all the way through. With my fellow deans and our co-presidents, we passed your matriculation certificates around the circles you formed and watched you figure out how to find your way here and make this place feel like home. And we learned a lot about you in that process. We have learned that you are spirited, you are creative, and you are resilient. The fact that I'm a dean is probably the first thing you know about me. The second thing you may know about me is that I am also a parent to one of your classmates. When Dr. Kington invited me to give this speech, the first thing I had to do was ask for Rowan's consent that I stand up here and address all of you tonight. Thank you, Rowan, for saying yes. I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to share these last 4 years with you, letting you have your own experience here and getting to know so many of your classmates, teachers, friends, and mentors. The third thing you may know about me is that I'm a history teacher, and so I want to place the years of your lives and your time at Andover in a historical context to see what questions emerge and how those questions might guide you as you prepare to become a graduate of Phillips Academy. You were born just as an economic downturn called the Great Recession was worsening, and the war in Iraq was entering its most deadly phase. After an inspired campaign and a historic election, President Barack Obama met resistance in Congress as the politics of hope gave way to partisan gridlock and the economic recovery proved uneven and elusive. A bright spot, at least in my book, was the Boston Red Sox amazing 2007 season. Thank you. They led the AL East from wire to wire, swept the Colorado Rockies to claim their second World Series title in 4 years. And this was huge, remember, because they had won exactly 0 titles in the previous 86 years. I listened to almost every game on the radio that season, often with Rowan sleeping in a sling wrapped around my chest. It's true. Also around the time of your birth, Andover adopted a need-blind admissions policy and committed to meeting 100% of admitted students' demonstrated financial need. Anyone who could get into Phillips Academy could come regardless of their financial situation. We cannot take for granted how incredible a statement that is and how it allows us to fulfill our mission of educating youth from every quarter and building an intentionally diverse community together here. As you were learning how to walk and talk, things were happening with cell phones and social media. The connectivity revolution was on. You might not be surprised to hear that I was a slow adopter. I got my first smartphone in 2015. A few years later, Rowan started pointing out that I needed to stop referring to it as a smartphone because doing so made me sound like a dinosaur. Phones and social media amplified things and impacted how we knew what we knew. We no longer watched the same evening news, no longer read the morning headlines in the local paper. Our feeds fed us different stories, different versions of events, and things started to feel more diffuse. The Arab Spring, Trayvon Martin, Donald Trump, #MeToo, the COVID pandemic, George Floyd. What impacts did those changes and disruptions have on your middle school years? What do you remember now? September 2022, when many of us arrived here, was the start of the first, quote, normal academic year at Andover since 2018. But what would normal mean? What were we returning to? What had we forgotten how to do? And what did we want to do differently? We had to learn again how to make a boarding school as large, diverse, and complex as Phillips Academy feel like a cohesive community, a place where everyone could develop a sense of belonging, where we could feel some degree of connection. My soon-to-be colleagues in the Dean of Students office developed Core Blue in the summer of 2022 to synthesize and articulate our core values. Act with honesty and integrity, respect others, respect yourself, build healthy and inclusive community. These are not particularly radical or groundbreaking values. They are reasonable and commonsensical, beautifully simple, and so very foundational. What's remarkable about them is the fact that in the times in which we are living, in which you have grown up, arrived at Andover, made this place your home, and now are preparing to go out into the world, these core values seem to be in retreat. I invite you to remember how these values have guided us during these 4 years and to keep them close at hand as you leave. Values anchor us. You've heard me say it many times. We do not expect you to be perfect. We all make mistakes, especially adolescents, learning how to empathize with other people, consider the bigger picture and different perspectives, and make good decisions. You have done so much good learning here, none more important than how to build relationships with a wide range of people, how to widen your circle, how to treat people with respect, how to connect. These are the skills you will need as you move on from Andover and into the world after this commencement weekend. You are going to go on and do a lot of amazing things when you leave here. Whatever you do, use the privilege of your Andover education thoughtfully and intentionally. I'm not telling you not to have fun. We need to find joy, appreciate beauty, care for each other in the natural world, and create opportunities to come together in a celebratory way. And you have done that here too. We have seen you in those matriculation circles, nervous and uncertain, and we have seen you thrive and struggle and persist and grow in so many ways since then. We have seen you help each other find the strength to believe you can do it. And you have done it. You are here. I'm so proud of you and the ways that you have grown. You give me hope, and for that, I will be forever grateful. Take good care, class of 2026. We are here for you, and you can always come home. Thank you for being you and for being here. Go now in peace.
Good evening, all. Class of 2026, I really wanted to be part of this evening's program because I have so much love in my heart for you. But there's someone who loves you maybe even a little bit more than I do.
Hi, 26s. You made it. I'm sorry that I'm not there to celebrate you today, but just know that I'm thinking about you. And I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished at Andover. From our first gathering at the game show freshman year, shout out to my team, bringing home the win, to peeling oranges at lightning speed during our field day event lower year, to square dancing and Borden upper year, which you all were surprisingly really, really good at. It's been a blast being one of your class advisors these last few years. As you continue on into your next journeys, I encourage you to lean into that silliness, to continue to find sources of laughter, and to bring that big blue joy wherever you go next. And in the meantime, enjoy these last couple of days together as a class. Tell your friends you love them. Thank the adults in your life. I promise it goes a long way. And really soak it all in. You have earned this, you have built this, and you're leaving Andover a better place than you found it. So from one class of 26 graduate to another, and from the bottom of my heart, congratulations. I'm sending so much love from across the pond. Bye.
She really did want to be here with you. She is with us in spirit tonight, you all. To our amazing speakers this evening and our amazing musicians, thank you for a wonderful evening of reflection and beauty. I am honored and delighted to be in community with you. As we conclude today's program, I would like to call forward two students to officially accept the 2026 banner on behalf of your class. This banner will remain with you for years to come and will be proudly displayed when you return to campus every 5 years for reunion. After these two students accept the banner, they will lead us in a procession across campus to the Snyder Center for dinner and conversation. I would now like to invite Quinn Langham and Ollie Velez to the stage to receive the 2026 banner.